Welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make some smothered and covered hash browns. We're going to start out with 2 russet potatoes. You can peel them if you want, but it's not necessary. I'm going to clear up a little room here on my board. If you've never had smothered and covered hash browns, let me get my glove out here. Make sure I don't cut my hand up on this grater here. You can use a box grater for this if you have one. I just have this grater mandolin attachment, so that's what I'm going to use. But you're just going to grate these potatoes, and you want to get nice long streaks. So you want to do it in a fluid motion, just like that. If you haven't had smothered and covered hash browns, basically all they are is a bed of fried hash browns, so fried potatoes, and you top it with sauteed peppers and onions, and sauteed mushrooms, and then you cover it in some kind of cheese. And the first time I had them was at, I'm originally from Kentucky, and the first time I had them was, let me get a little bowl of water here. We're gonna put the hash browns in the water and allow them to soak, and that's gonna get some of those starches off. But the first time I had hash browns was at, well, aside from having it at home, having smothered and covered hash browns was at the Waffle House, which is like a really popular diner type restaurant throughout the South and throughout Kentucky, where I'm originally from. But the ones that you get at Waffle House are definitely not vegan, but these will be. So this is actually a pretty easy thing to make in the morning. Probably the grating and then the soaking are just the most time intensive parts of the actual recipe. But once you get past that and you get used to making this, it's pretty easy to throw together in the morning. All right, that's good enough. And these are, I mean, this is pretty much like similar to a hash from the standpoint of it's fried potatoes, and you can put whatever you want to put on there. If you want to go a little more creative and maybe do some zucchini or some broccoli, some fried broccoli or something like that. Really anything. But I like mine with onions and peppers and mushrooms and some nice vegan cheese melted on it. And we've got our potatoes here soaking in a bowl of water, and that's going to soak while we prep and start the peppers and onions and the mushrooms. So I'm pretty much just going to use about half of a red pepper here, and I'll save the other half. And I'm going to go into, I'm going to do a dice on this this bell pepper, and we'll do it into strips and then into little chopped cubes here. And you can do a rough chop on this. It doesn't have to be anything perfect, and you can even leave them in strips. I think I'm going to leave my onions in strips. So we'll do like a chopped red pepper and a sliced jalapeno and sliced onion. Trying to think, I think Waffle House is obviously it's not the only place where you can get smothered and covered hash browns. When I lived in Moorhead, where I went to school, they had another form of Waffle House which was called Huddle House. So I'm sure there are many different varieties of that style of like 24-hour diner where you can just pull in and get really greasy, nasty breakfast food. But in terms of vegan options at those places, I'd say it's quite limited. But just comment down below and tell me what place you have in your area. Is it a Waffle House or a Huddle House or what? Let me know what you got. And I'm gonna leave the seeds in this jalapeno here. Man, I'm struggling real hard with my knife this morning. There we go. And I like to add the jalapeno in there just for a bit of heat. Like I said, you can definitely, you can remove the seeds and the pith, or you can just leave the jalapeno out, or if you've got a pepper that's just slightly less hot, that would work really well too. I like a bit of spice in my food though. Alright, and we're doing about half an onion here. So half a red pepper, half an onion, and I'm gonna slice this guy lengthwise. That's good. Doesn't have to be perfect. Like I said, you can do a little variation. We'll get some nice lengths of red onion this way. Here we go. And on the mushrooms, the only thing that I do to prepare these are just baby Bella mushrooms. I just take the stem off of it. Some people say you should wash them or rinse them with a damp towel. I have done that. I don't find that it makes a big difference. I guess if there's some dirt and grime and stuff on there that you might not want in your final dish, that's fair, but I don't really mind it too much. It seems like more of a hassle to me than it is a productive end result from it. So, all right. So we're just gonna go slices on the mushrooms as well. And I'm not using this full pack of mushrooms because it'd be way too much, but probably about 4 ounces of mushrooms, or however much you want, really. This 2 potatoes and all the ingredients we're using will make enough for about 2 people. So if you want, if you want extra toppings, make more toppings. If you're trying to feed more people, use 3 or 4 potatoes. And you'll probably have to use either a really large skillet or a couple of skillets, or do them in batches. If you're gonna go for more than 2 or 3 people fed. This is one of my favorite hangover dishes to have. If you've got a hangover, let's get our pan heated up over here. I'm just gonna use a cast iron skillet here. But if you've got a hangover, this is perfect hangover food because it's pretty nasty and pretty good. So we'll let that cast iron pan heat up. I'm gonna use some grapeseed oil here. Grapeseed oil is a really great, just versatile kind of all-purpose cooking oil. It's a neutral flavored vegetable oil. We want to do a pretty good amount because we're going to cook this stuff down. Probably about 2 teaspoons or so. But yeah, grapeseed oil is really good. It's good for grilling, frying, baking, and sautéing. Doesn't add a lot of flavor, and you can crank it up on high heat and not have to worry about it reaching its smoking point. So the pan is nicely heated up, and I'm just gonna go ahead and put everything in here. And you can cook this pretty rapidly. I'm gonna cook it on about a medium high, close to a high heat. And you just want to move the stuff around really frequently, not let it sit for too long. We want to work out all that moisture from those mushrooms. And if you just kind of leave it and let it sit there, it'll just steam, and all of the vegetables will kind of just steam and soften. But we want to go on like a high heat and just be really attentive to what we've got going on here and keep it moving, because all of this stuff is going to cook down pretty quick within a couple of minutes. And just like that, it's cooked down quite a bit. All right, so I'm going to drop this down to about just below a medium, and we're going to finish it, let it finish cooking while we move on back to the potatoes that have been soaking here now for 5 to 10 minutes or so. What you're going to need is either a clean tea towel, or you can use a piece of cheesecloth like this. And I'm just going to get a strainer here, sorry about that, and we're gonna strain the water out of these potatoes here, and I'm just gonna dump it straight in, try not to lose any of it. Get all our extra bits. Alright, so we strained the bulk of the water off. Now we're going to get our tea towel and we're going to transfer the potatoes into the cheesecloth or tea towel, whichever one you're using. And you just want to ball it up and kind of get it all together in one spot. And then we'll get our bowl back and just start squeezing all that liquid out of them. You can just keep twisting your cloth and just squeeze the liquid. And there's going to be a lot of white starchy liquid come off of this. And get it as good as you can. You don't have to waste, you know, a lot of time doing this, but you want to get as much of that water out as possible. So whatever means you have of squeezing, whether you want to, you know, try to use something to squish it, like a large pan or something, or just your hands. I find your hands just work just fine. So just as much of that water out as we can. Let me check on this over here. It looks pretty good. So you can see, excuse me, you can see everything is cooked down really well. Starting to get a little bit of color on some stuff. Starting to see a little browning. It smells very fragrant. I just added a little salt and pepper to this while it was cooking. Alright, so that's pretty much done. We're gonna transfer that back over into our bowl. And we're gonna use our cast iron here to start the potatoes. Alright, so leave it on the heat about a medium, and you're gonna wanna add some more oil. And a pretty good bit of oil, probably about a tablespoon of oil here. Because you want your potatoes to get nice and crispy. And they're not gonna do that without the oil. Alright, so we'll get our potatoes and unwrap them from our cheesecloth. And basically I'm just going to take it straight over here and go right into the pan. And if you want to, you can transfer them from one tea towel to another one, and just kind of make sure they get really dry before you put them in. But as soon as you put them in here, you just want to start patting them down. And this might be just a bit too much for one pan, but you need a slightly larger pan, but it'll be okay. So just pat them down, squeeze them with the back of your spatula up against the bottom of the pan. You want to make sure that you get a nice even layer all the way across. And I like to use this little spatula here just to go around the edges and press and make sure everything is stuck down. We want it to just to soak into that oil and allow that hot oil and the hot pan to just get everything nice and crispy and brown on the bottom. Just like that. Perfect little layer. And if you could see down in there, it's probably about a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch thick layer of potatoes. And as soon as this bottom portion gets nice and brown, we'll flip it over. And we'll probably flip it over in 2 sections, just so we don't destroy the whole circle trying to do it all together. So as soon as it's browns, which will happen in about 5 minutes. So basically, you want to take a little rubber spatula like this here, and that's kind of gross, there's a hair on there, and just work around the edge of the hash brown and check and see how well it's coming off the bottom of the pan. And I can see under there that it's definitely starting to get golden brown on the bottom. And I'm just going to let it go for another second. As you work this around the edge of the pan, this will help you a little bit when you go to actually try to lift up and flip some of this over. You can see there we've got some nice nice coming together of all the shreds of potato, and everything starting to get caramelized on the bottom down there. So I would say that's about good there on the browning. And basically what I like to do is I'll cut right in half, right down the middle of the hash browns, and I'll just try to do this in 2 portions. That way I don't make too much of a mess on the flip. And it, like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect here, but you do want to try to maintain the integrity of the hash brown. Alright, there we go. So I lost a little bit off the edge, but that's alright. So just get under with a nice long spatula like that and give it a flip. And you can always get back under with your rubber spatula and kind of flatten things out a bit. But basically, that's what we want to do there, is just get it flipped over and now allow the other side to brown. And just give it a nice push back down against the bottom of the pan. Obviously, if you can get a full flip on this guy without cutting it in half, then hats off to you, because you're far better than I. But this is the kind of low stress way to do it. So a little bit more oil just to help that browning. And I'm just going to go around the sides of the pan with it. Another teaspoon or 2. Like I said, this is a bit of a hangover cure, not really a massively healthy food choice. Something you might want to have on Sunday morning or maybe Friday morning, depending on how old you are. I know Thursdays are a pretty popular night on college campuses, so I'm going to snap my fingers and it'll be about 5 minutes. The bottom is completely browned on the bottom. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that or not, but it's nice and golden brown down there. What we're going to do now is we're going to turn up our broiler on your oven. I'm going to turn mine on high, and we are going to cut the heat on our hash browns. Leave them in the cast iron pan. You'll want to do this with an oven safe pan if you're going to put the toppings back on and melt the cheese like I'm about to do. But we're going to pile on all those wonderful sauteed peppers, onions, and mushrooms on top of the hash browns. Give them a little spread. Looks beautiful. Alright. And last but not least, I've got this Daya jalapeno Havarti style cheese. And I'm just going to go straight over the top. And you can be quite generous with the cheese here if you want. Or, you know, as little or as much as you want. I like, when I'm eating this and I'm indulging in it, I want to have a pretty good amount of cheese on here, so perfect. It's gonna be lovely when it comes out. Alright. Good shred of cheese. We've got our broiler turned on, we've got our heat off, and we're sticking the cast iron straight in there. Alright, so the cheese is nice and melted. We're gonna pull this guy out from under the broiler. Oh yeah, that looks absolutely gorgeous. Alright, let me make a little landing spot for it here. And we'll bring him over here into the light. Oh yeah, wow. I'm very excited about that. Got a little Tabasco here to go on top. And this is fresh out of the oven, so it's going to be very hot. Get a nice up close picture of that. You can see the browning on all of the vegetables, like the mushrooms, how crispy and fried the potatoes are. You can see a nice little jalapeno coming out over here. Mushrooms, and that cheese, that Daya jalapeno Havarti cheese melted on top, looks scrumptious. Plate it up and we will have a little taste. There we go. Beautiful. And just for plating purposes, let's just go ahead and get the other half on here as well. Wow. And all these little bits on the bottom. Here we go. All right, that is the finished product right there. The smothered and covered hash browns. Traditionally, they would be covered with cheddar cheese, but I was out of cheddar cheese, so we just used that jalapeno Havarti. And this might not look like the most appealing thing, but as soon as we bite into it, we're gonna know just exactly how tasty it is. All right, let me get a nice bite here. Get a little bit of everything. Wow. Holy crap. This is so good. Oh man, it's so hot. Fresh out of the oven. Wow, that is so delicious. The potatoes are so crispy on the bottom and the top. Got that nice soft potato in between. All the vegetables that were just sauteed to perfection, thrown on there, covered with cheese. I mean, it can't get any better than that right there. I definitely recommend that you try this. And so it's a really easy dish to make once you get the hang of the potato situation. You know, the whole grating, soaking, and then draining, squeezing out all the juice, and then frying them in the pan. And you just want to make sure to get nice solid browning before you flip, and then just finish it with your favorite veggies and a little bit of vegan cheese, and you've got a heavenly plate of food here. So no way I'm gonna eat all this, but got more for later. So hope you enjoyed this. If you did, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel for some daily vegan content like this wonderful dish right here. And thanks for hanging out in my kitchen, and I'll catch you on the next one.